A warship deck, a microphone, and a threat that just rewrote the rules of the ocean. Europe's tankers, cargo ships, and trade routes now sit inside a target zone with no clear borders. Why anywhere isn't a slip of the tongue, what Europe did to provoke it, which sea becomes the flashpoint first. One order from Moscow could already be at sea. A Russian warship out at sea, and standing on its deck is President Vladimir Putin himself. He's not there for a photo op, he's there to send a message. Speaking from the missile cruiser Varyag, Putin warned that Russia could start seizing merchant ships from Western countries, and he means anywhere in the world, not just near Russia's coast. Why? Because Europe has been cracking down on Russia's so-called shadow fleet, a secret group of oil tankers helping Russia dodge sanctions. This isn't just angry talk anymore. This is Russia saying the fight over oil and sanctions could move from paperwork and fines to actual ships getting boarded on the open ocean. Sounds serious, right? It is, and it raises a huge question. How far is Russia really willing to go? Stick with us, because what happens next could affect ships, trade, and prices everywhere, even ones headed to a port near you. So what exactly is this shadow fleet everyone keeps talking about? After the West placed strict price limits and bans on Russian oil, Russia didn't just stop selling it. Instead, it quietly built a massive, secretive group of old oil tankers. These ships fly flags from other countries to hide who really owns them, letting them slip past Western insurance rules and shipping restrictions. It's like a hidden highway moving Russian oil around the world while dodging the rules everyone else has to follow. And this isn't small change. This shadow fleet brings in billions of dollars for Russia's government. That money doesn't just sit in a bank account either. A lot of experts believe it helps fund Russia's military operations too. So this isn't just about sneaky business deals. It's about survival money for a government under heavy pressure. But here's the twist. The West finally started fighting back, and that's exactly where things start heating up. For a while, Europe mostly punished Russia's shadow fleet with fines and paperwork, sanctions lists, warnings, that sort of thing. But that changed. Countries like the UK, France, Sweden, Belgium, and Italy stopped playing nice. They started physically stopping suspected Russian tankers, boarding them, and holding them in busy waterways like the English Channel, the Baltic Sea, and the Mediterranean. New European rules even allow officials to seize these ships completely and take the oil inside them. Think about that for a second. Instead of just saying you broke the rules, Europe started literally climbing aboard and taking control. For Russia, this crossed a line. It wasn't just about lost money anymore. It felt like a direct challenge on the open seas. And when a powerful country feels publicly challenged like that, it rarely stays quiet. This is the moment tensions really started boiling over, and it set the stage for Putin's dramatic warning. Here's where things get really interesting. Putin didn't just say Russia might respond. He said retaliation could happen wherever we consider it necessary, not just in the waters where Russian ships were stopped. Notice where he made this statement too. Aboard a warship, during military exercises in the Pacific Ocean, thousands of miles from Europe. That location wasn't random. It was a message. Russia was hinting that European ships sailing far away, nowhere near Russia's home waters, could suddenly become targets too. In other words, Europe can't just protect its own nearby seas and feel safe. Russia has ships stationed around the globe, and it's suggesting it could strike wherever it has the advantage, not where it was provoked. This is called asymmetric retaliation, hitting where the enemy least expects it. So ask yourself, if the danger could appear absolutely anywhere, how does any country truly prepare for that? Now here's an interesting twist. Both sides are actually using the law to justify themselves. Europe says its ship boardings are legal under international ocean rules called UNCLOS, which allow inspections for safety and environmental reasons. But Russia sees it completely differently. The Kremlin has openly called these European actions piracy and robbery, as if Europe is the one breaking the rules. Why does this matter? Because by calling Europe's actions illegal, Russia is building an excuse. If Russia starts seizing Western ships later, it can claim, we're just doing the same thing back to you. It's a clever and dangerous strategy. Instead of admitting to aggressive action, Russia can frame it as simple payback for something it claims was already illegal. It's almost like each side is writing its own version of the rulebook. And when two powerful sides both believe they're the ones in the right, that's usually when things escalate even further. Global trade depends on a handful of narrow, crowded water routes, places like the Baltic Straits, the English Channel, the Strait of Malacca, and even parts of the Arctic. Ships can't just avoid these areas, they're basically required routes for a massive amount of world trade, carrying everything from fuel to everyday goods. The problem? Many of these tight passageways sit close to major Russian naval bases. That means European ships, cargo carriers, chemical tankers, gas ships often have no choice but to sail near Russian military power just to complete their journeys. There's no simple detour around the planet. Rerouting would take much longer, cost far more money, and still might not guarantee safety. So when Russia threatens ships anywhere, these choke points become especially worrying zones. It's like being forced to walk through a narrow alley every single day, right past someone who just threatened you. Uncomfortable, to say the least. Here's something people often forget. Threats alone can hurt the economy, even before anything actually happens. The moment a serious threat like this becomes public, insurance companies react immediately. Shipping companies now have to pay much higher war risk insurance just to sail through risky areas. That extra cost doesn't disappear. It gets passed down the chain, eventually raising prices on goods people buy every day. On top of that, some shipping companies may start avoiding certain routes entirely, causing delays and confusion about who's even responsible if cargo gets seized. So really, Russia doesn't need to seize a single ship for this threat to cause damage. Simply making ship owners worried is enough to shake the system. It's a strange kind of warfare, quiet, financial, and felt by regular people through rising prices, even if they never hear the word Russia in the news that day. Kinda makes you think differently about global shipping, doesn't it? So how does the West respond to a threat like this? It's not simple. NATO and allied navies must walk a careful line, protecting merchant ships and enforcing sanctions without accidentally starting a direct war with Russia. Their options include increasing naval patrols, escorting valuable cargo ships through dangerous waters, and tightening checks on ships arriving at major ports. But protecting ships everywhere in the world at all times is incredibly difficult. Navies have limited ships and limited resources, and Russia's threat covers basically the entire globe. This creates a tough decision for Western military planners. Do they play it safe and mostly watch from a distance, or do they take a bolder, more active approach to prevent seizures before they happen? Either choice comes with risk. Too passive and ships remain vulnerable. Too aggressive and tensions could spiral out of control. It's a balancing act with no easy answers, and the whole world is watching how it plays out. So where could this actually be heading? Experts generally point to three possible paths. The first is low-level tension, things like jamming GPS signals or minor harassment of Western ships without anyone getting physically hurt. The second is medium escalation, where Russia might board and briefly hold a European ship, claiming it was just a routine inspection. The third and most serious is high escalation, an actual armed seizure of a ship, which could lead to a dangerous standoff between Russian and NATO naval forces. Most analysts believe the medium scenario is the most likely starting point, a European ship getting stopped somewhere like the Pacific, with Russia insisting it was simply following safety procedures. It's a gray area, not quite war, but far from peaceful either. The real question is whether that kind of inspection stays small or becomes the spark for something much bigger. Which path do you think is most likely? At the end of the day, this isn't just a story about ships and oil, it's about whether the rules that have kept the world's oceans relatively peaceful since World War II are starting to break down. For decades, most countries have agreed that international waters should stay open and safe for trade, no matter what political disagreements exist on land. Putin's warning challenges that idea directly. If powerful nations start treating merchant ships as bargaining chips or targets in political disputes, the entire system of global trade could become far less predictable and far more dangerous. This moment may be remembered as a turning point, where economic sanctions crossed into something closer to open confrontation at sea. So here's a question worth sitting with. If the world's oceans stop being neutral ground, what does that mean for global trade, prices, and peace going forward? Let us know what you think in the comments below.